Hello, everyone, and welcome to another chess lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the three stages of the game: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. So let's dive right in. In the opening, you want to get all your pieces out to attack your opponent, and your pieces, if your pieces are out, they can also defend you against your opponent's attacks. So a really common starting move is e4. You can see this opens up the bishop on this diagonal and the queen on this diagonal. So it opens up a lot of pieces to move. And black can do the same thing. Notice that these pawns also help control the center. Controlling these four squares is really important in the beginning, because if you can control them better than your opponent will have a hard time trying to get back into the game. These squares are really important if you want to attack your opponent in the beginning. So this move, knight to f3, it's attacking this pawn and it's also attacking this square here. You can see this knight is helping to control these two squares in the center. A really common move that black can do is knight to c6. And this defends the pawn and also puts more pressure on the square. And it's really good to try to put as many pieces so that they're looking at these squares in the center. Another way that black can defend the pawn is d6. It's called the Philidor defense. And it's not always good because you do block in your bishop this way, but this bishop is open. So it's good in some ways, but not others. The h3, what this does is it prevents the bishop from coming here. So if this bishop was here, then you can see it's a pin along this diagonal and I wouldn't be able to move my knight. So this move is supposed to prevent that. So that's what you want to do in the opening. You want to get all your pieces out and try to keep your opponent from attacking you by using your pieces. So as we transition from the opening to the middle game, like this position here, you can see there's a lot of pieces in the center, especially these four squares. You can see a lot of pieces are fighting along the really important lines. This knight is in the center and it can get into the black position really easily. And it's going to be a problem for black to get rid of this knight. So black tries attacking the knight. Now here in this position, what you want to do is this knight is not really that great of a knight. So you can see back here, it can't do anything and it just came out. This knight is really powerful. You can see that it's attacking all of these squares in black's position. And black is kind of stuck because of this knight. So you don't want to trade off this knight. You want to keep it here. If you do trade it off, you want black to take you so that you can respond to it and get a better position. Here, this is just a simple improving move. It gets the queen behind the bishop and maybe even be able to go along this diagonal later on in the game. So this is actually a really bad move. You don't want to see if the knight is defended by this pawn. If you take it, this pawn can take back and it's going to be a pawn fork. So before you take pieces, you want to make sure you know what they're being defended by, what the other person can do. So after this move, white can take the knight back this way, and you can see this pawn is attacking both the knight and the bishop. Sorry, the knight and the bishop. And black can't take this pawn because this bishop will take it back. So black is forced to lose a piece in this position. And this could have been avoided if you didn't take the knight. If you just left the knight here, then this wouldn't have happened. So before you take something, make sure that nothing bad is going to happen to you. So you take back, and black can't save the pieces because they're both being attacked. So you're going to lose a piece no matter what. So black might as well develop the queen. Thing is, in the positions like these, in the opening, in the beginning, you want to save your bishops. The bishops, if you save them, later on in the game where you don't have a lot of pieces left, then the bishops are really strong because they can move all over the board. And if you have two of them, then they can go on like every square. So you want to keep your bishops. So what the best move in this position is, you want to save your bishop. So you could do something like bishop to d7. So what this move, it gets the bishop out of the way, and when the pawn takes, you can take back. So at least even though you lost a piece, you still get a pawn back, and you keep your bishop. But what actually happened was this, and black takes the pawn back this way, and you can see the king's kind of really open. There's like a lot of open lines. This pawn only has one defender. The queen's the only thing defending this pawn. This knight isn't being defended at all. So you can see there's a lot of like weaknesses in the black position, and this is really where in the middle game you want to try to focus on attacking these weaknesses, things that are not defended, like this pawn here and this knight. Nothing's protecting them, so you want to go after them and try to see if you can use them to your advantage. So what castling here does is it puts the rook behind the queen. You can maybe try to open up this line and maybe give checkmate here if the line is open, because now the queen has support. And so black also does the same thing, putting a bishop behind the queen and maybe like opening up this line. If the pawn ever moves, then you could maybe even give checkmate like this. And what this move does is, if black did open up the line, then you could stop the attack because the queen's in the way. And this is also attacking the knight. But black does not see that white is attacking the knight. You always want to make sure all your pieces are defended so that if they are being attacked, you can at least protect them, or you can take the piece back. This is also a fork, by the way. It's forking the king and the rook. But black moves out of the way this way. See, now this rook is defending this rook, so you can't take it. If black had gone like here, for example, then you could take this rook and there's nothing defending. But if you can do this, then the rooks are both defending each other and you can't take them. So this is another way you can try to get into the black position. And you can also see it's attacking this pawn with the bishop. You can see this pawn is pinned. It can't move out of the way. And there's two pieces defending it, and there's two pieces attacking. So if you get an extra attacker, you could probably take this pawn and they wouldn't be able to keep up with you. So black just gets the king out of the way, tries to hide back here. This would be a really good spot for the king. There's not a lot of ways to attack the king from back there. So this pawn was unprotected, so he just took it. And as the game goes on, you transition into the end game here, where after trading queens like this is now an end game where you don't have a lot of pieces left. You have just a couple of maybe pawns, maybe a couple of pieces left. You can see black has 3 pieces and some pawns, and white has 3 pieces and some pawns. But white has more pawns. White has an extra pawn right here. So white can maybe try to use that. But the most important thing is this king is wide open. You can see there's a lot of lines that are open near the king. You want to try to use them to give check. Now see, white's king is kind of safe behind these pawns here. And even though there's a line open, there's not really much you can do behind this wall of pawns. Even if black got here, there's nothing really black can do. So black tries to put rook here, maybe go all the way down and give checkmate later on. And white does the same thing. So here, this bishop is under attack. If the rook takes, the king can't take back because the other rook is defending this one. But black doesn't see that and loses the bishop. So what black wanted to do here was give checkmate here, like this, and bring the other rook in. So let's say after this move, white did something like this. What black could do now is do this, and you can see this is checkmate. The bishop is covering these two squares. The king can't move here because of this pawn, and it's giving check and covering this square. And this rook is defending this rook, so you can't take it. But you always want to make sure that you're not being attacked before you try to go on an attack, because now white can do this, and after this, and the kings will force back, and we have rook to h8, which is checkmate. Let's give check, cover this square, the bishop covers this square, and the rook covers these two squares. And the king can't move into either of these squares because the rooks are there. So those are the three stages of the game. In the opening, you want to get all your pieces out. You want to try to build up a defense against your opponent and try to make an attack, try to build up an attack, make it bigger and bigger. In the middle game, it's where all the attacking and defending happens, and usually you want your king away from the action. You usually castle early, get your king away from the center, and let all the other pieces do the fighting in the center. In the end game is where a lot of pieces are gone, you've traded them off, and you have a couple of pieces left. You want to try to get an advantage by getting more pawns or getting close to the king. Or if neither person can break through, you want to try to get one of your pawns to the other side of the board and make it queen, because an extra queen is really going to help you win the game. So those are the three stages of the game: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson.